Host Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Give me 2 laps and a Ric Flair.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. It is Thursday, 25th of July. They say it's the best day of the week. I can confirm that. What an opportunity today. Come to you. Talk a little Tennessee athletics, fall camp, counting down. Everyone will report next week with first day of practice starting on Wednesday. Fired up about that. Ben McKee, GoVols 247 will join here shortly. I'm Jason Swain, live from the Low T Central Studio. A couple things to cover today. The big news is scholarships being increased. Multiple sports. That's the big news from a national standpoint. That's huge. Ever since the transfer portal became a thing, we've seen coaches use the portal as a tool to upgrade their rosters. The people that were on the outside looking in, or the group of people that were affected the most negatively, was the high school athletes. I mean, you would do the same thing too. I probably would do the same thing if I was a head coach. Would you rather have a stronger, more mature player to bring into your program to help, or a younger player that needs more time physically to develop, get stronger, maybe get more mature? Well, you would take the player from the transfer portal. It stinks, and it stunk for the high school athletes, but that's the way it was. That's the way it is. But according to Ross Dellinger yesterday, or was that day before yesterday? I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Days are running together. But commissioners finalized roster limits that will be filed Friday in the House settlement. This was a tweet from Ross Dellinger 19 hours ago. Football is going to get 105 scholarships. That's a huge increase by 20 plus. Baseball, huge increase. They're going to get an increase of 22.3 scholarships. All the way up to 34. And the first thing I thought about was the advantage Vanderbilt had for so long with being able to contort the system a little bit to help their baseball program have an advantage over others, which, hey, that's what you're supposed to do. But now, 34 scholarships for baseball will be allowed. 25 scholarships for softball, 18 scholarships, men's and women's basketball, 15 scholarships. So that's the big news. And it does affect your football team. It does affect the team that you root for. It is important. Plus 20 scholarships for football. was at 85. Looks like it's going to be at 105. So high school athletes, this is good news for you. Great news. I think the two sports that wins the most here from this change will be football and baseball. And not just because of the amount added. But baseball desperately needed it. Football helps out those high school athletes in a huge, huge way. Huge way. Had to be really strategic before about what the numbers and who you're going to bring here and who you're going to bring there. Gives coaches more wiggle room. More wiggle room. How does that affect walk-ons, though? That's a question that just immediately popped into my head. How does that affect walk-ons? How many of the total roster can you have? So you're adding scholarships. That means you just add 20 to your overall team, or does that mean you could only have a certain amount of scholarships? Walk-ons. I know one thing, man. In playing fights, to away games, they're packed. You're adding 20 more scholarships. Does that take somebody else's seat? How does that affect walk-ons? That's my question. 865-255-03 is our number to the hotline this morning. You can use the Beatty Chevrolet text box to throw in some questions, comments. They are
welcome.
We will be joined by Ben McKee, GoVols 247, as soon as we can. He was at basketball practice yesterday. We can talk about all of the sports. Baseball won a national championship. Basketball did their thing last year, getting to the Elite Eight, putting together a team that may be even better. Football is in position to go to the college football playoff. We can talk about all the sports that are winning. And as football is getting cranked up and getting ready to go, basketball is too. And Ben was there at practice to check out the new additions and see how they are meshing together. So I look forward to talking to Ben about that. A lot of talk about Georgia and Texas being the favorites to win the college football playoff, to be the favorites to match up in the SEC championship game. Big Ten had their media days yesterday. Weird to see UCLA, USC with a Big Ten patch on their jersey, but that's where we are. And they're going to crisscross the country for football games. They'll travel a lot of miles. That's what you would do if you were in the NFL. So prepare yourselves for that, as a pro would do, because you're more of a pro now than ever before. This Tennessee football team, in order for this team to reach their full potential, it's really simple. It's about your best players being the best. Darnell Wright was Tennessee's best player in 2022, and he played like it. You had your quarterback, Hendon Hooker, play like a Heisman Trophy winner up until the injury. You had your best players playing their best. Basketball is so weird because you have your best players go through a slump shooting the basketball. They're doing everything right. The ball's just not going in the hoop. We can go look at that game versus Purdue in the Elite Eight. And, Jonas Adu had up and down games all season long. Well, he didn't have his best game. He had an off game. And you need your best players, and he was one of our best players. He was an all-conference player. You need your best players to have their best games, their best seasons. So when you look at this football team, and there's pressure all over this team, all over the field. Because one guy not doing their job can impact the entire play. And the play can be a failure. So everyone's under pressure. But players under the most pressure this season for this team to be successful. Those are the players we want to discuss. First part of the show. Chip Payne says on the Beatty Chevrolet text box, Deshaun Foster, who is the coach of UCLA, he didn't do his homework before his opening statement. Not a good look for a head coach. Shame on the school for not giving him some PowerPoints to mention. Yeah, I watched about a minute of it. I couldn't get through it, man. It was tough to get through. He said that he is basically a man of few words. Okay. I think as a head coach, you probably gonna need to talk and know how to talk a little bit more with energy if you're trying to motivate young men. He's already gonna have a learning curve as a first-year head coach. And he's doing it in a conference the second best conference in the land. Highly competitive. We'll see how he fares. Chip also says with the increased scholarships to the football team, I think you will see a lot of smaller school sports teams go away because they simply can't compete. It will be the haves and the have not, and the haves will always win. Although that's a fact. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always going to be. And if you are a fan of a school, like a smaller school, and a fan of like Tennessee, because sometimes you grow up and you want to go to Tennessee, but it's better for you to go to a smaller school for financial reasons or any other reasons. And then you go there for 2 years, or you graduate and you go to Tennessee or the big school later. So you're a fan of two schools, and that's cool. Well, if you're a fan of that small school and the small school is being affected by all these big changes, and there's a threat that major sports at that small school will go away, it stinks. It stinks. But yes, there's going to be some sacrifices made. There will be some sacrifices. 1,000%. 865-255-03. When we come back from our timeout, players under the most pressure for the 2024-2025 Tennessee football team. Who needs to step up? Who cannot afford to have off games? Who will be counted on the most? Who needs to have their breakthrough season? They have the talent. We've been talking about them for years. We've been waiting. Coaches have talked about them. Media has talked about them. But you just haven't seen it. Who are some of those players that need to bring it this year? We'll talk about that coming up here on the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Fellas, there's a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust. I recommend Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked. At Low T Center, they make it quick and easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have noticed weight gain, loss of muscle mass, you may have low T levels. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Hey, Vol Nation. This is Charlie Pratt, financial representative with Modern Woodman and MWA Financial Services. Modern Woodman has been touching lives and securing futures for 140 years. Being born and raised here in East Tennessee, I'm honored to help East Tennesseans in all phases of life with retirement planning, investments, and life insurance. A big win on Saturday starts with preparation early in the week. A secure financial future starts with planning today. Contact my office today at 865-919-6468 to review your financial plan and make sure you are on track for success. As always, go Vols.
Registered representative and investment advisor, representative offering securities and advisory services through NWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodman of America, member FINCRA, SIPC.
Good morning, Swain Event fam. America's College Sports Town has everything you could want in a lifestyle. You want a cottage home in town or a downtown condo, or maybe you're looking for a home with a pool or a lake property. Well, whatever you want, the Knoxville area has it, and I'm ready to assist when it's time to find what you're looking for. So give me a call, Jennifer Morris, 865-694-5904, or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com, and check out my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. Go Vols!
80 saves you money, like a new 24 Chevy Silverado 1500 Crew Cab. Save with 5.9% APR financing or pre-owned vehicles starting at $19,995. All makes and models at Beatty Chevrolet.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Five 25503, a number to the Swain Event hotline. Hope you're having a great Thursday morning so far. I'm live in the Low T Center studio, lowtcenter.com. Again, like everyone has pressure. Every player is going to be under pressure. If you are out there on the football field, there's pressure for you to execute your assignment, because if you don't, it can be the difference between a losing play and a winning play. And there's no hiding when you play at a place like Tennessee. If you have a bust, everyone's going to see it for the most part, especially at the skill positions, because it's in space. You drop a ball, you're wide open, people are rising in their seats as the ball is released, seeing the receiver wide open, and everyone is gasping on that drop. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows it. Running back, you fumble, you miss a block, everyone sees it. Quarterback, you fumble, you throw an interception, everyone sees it. There's sometimes guys who make big mistakes, and it's hard to tell if it was their fault or not. Maybe on the offensive line, defensive line. Well, there's a bunch of people. DB, you get beat. Everyone sees it. You can't hide that. But when you play at Tennessee, you have shows like this and countless other shows that talk about Tennessee football, which is a good thing, by the way, and brings attention to this program. I remember when Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra was here years ago, a previous regime, and made a comment about, wow, man, there's more people covering Tennessee football practice than Miami Heat. And it had like LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. So there's a lot of eyeballs on this program. So there's a lot of pressure on every single player. But the ones that stand out to me are the ones that I want to bring up. No order of like importance here, but just throwing out names. I think Javonte Spraggins is up there. Remember this point last year? Cole Kubiak had to come out and go, hold on now. There was talk about Spraggins being a first-round draft pick. This was after Darnell Wright was a first-round draft pick, and for some reason people were throwing out that Javonte Spraggins was going to be a first-round draft pick, and Cole was like, listen, I love Spraggs. I love his game. But that's not fair because that's not accurate. Man, Spraggs is tough as nails. Sometimes his emotions get the best of him. And you have to tell him, oh boy. And I would rather have that than having to say, come on, man. Come on, sing him. Come on, man. Please. Give me Spraggins all day long. But he's going to have to play really disciplined football. Obviously, the injury hurt him in a great deal last year. But everyone's healthy. Everyone's ready to go. But he has the toughness. He has the experience. It's just about being consistent. On the left side, you have a left guard position that's not really accounted for. And that's going to be figured out during fall camp. So it's very important for the guys who are playing center, Cooper Mays and Spraggins, right guard, John Campbell, guys that played last year, that are established. It's even more important for those guys to play consistent, to play well. You want to run the football. This is not, and I repeat, this is not an air raid offense. It is not an air raid offense. We run the football here. We run it more. And so you need Spraggins opening up holes, bullying defensive linemen, being his best. He has a chance to make a lot of money, man. Next, I'm going to go with Omar Thomas. Omar Thomas has went to SEC Media Days 2 years in a row. Every time you see players talking from Tennessee, it's Omar Thomas. So you need the production to match the amount of times he's out in front talking, representing Tennessee. A lot of experience. He's had plenty of off seasons to build the strength in the weight room to be a force. All his guys are gone. Guys that he went to school with in high school, they're at Briarcrest. Your boys are gone, Amari. Jabari Small is gone. Kenny Chandler, 1 year and done. Oh, look what we got. So it's time for Omar Thomas to be that guy. Not just one of the guys. I know James Pierce is there. James Pierce is good. And you can look at him as the guy. But if you're Omar Thomas, you're like, nah, man. On a competitive level, like, nah, this is my defensive line group. This is mine. And consistently needs to be a problem for opposing offensive linemen. 865-255-03. We're talking players with the most pressure. It's obvious that Nico has the pressure because he's a quarterback and he's going to handle the football, but guys that have played some seasons here, and it's time for them to take the game to the next level. It's time for them to be more consistent. We know they're good, but just it's time for them to start dominating. We need to see it every single play, every single game. These are the guys that I'm mentioning, and Ben McKee is with us. Ben, good morning, man. Woo! Fatherhood ain't no joke. sometimes, my man.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're looking good, man. Looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're looking good. I will tell you this. About 2:30, my fourth little kid, Ace, was whining and crying about going outside. Obviously, had to use the bathroom, and I appreciate Ace for not doing it in the house. So I was up at 2:30. That makes you feel any better at all?
It doesn't. Maybe a little bit, but not much.
Oh man! So when you think about players that you have covered over the last couple of years, man, there's a lot of older guys on this squad. They're getting their 5th year, their 6th year, in some cases 7th year, and like you've seen them come in as freshmen, you've seen them come in from a different program, and you're like, man, that guy, it's time for him to take it to the next level. Like, you're not bashing a guy or saying that he wasn't good, but you know there's another level for that player. You know that player needs to play better, longer for this team to achieve their goals. Do you have some guys in mind?
The first one that came to mind was John Campbell, and we talked about him on Tuesday. Don't think that he had a bad year last year by any stretch of the imagination. It just seemed to be like as the season wore on, his play deteriorated and wasn't super consistent down the stretch, in my opinion. And he is somebody that has to step up and have a terrific season. He is somebody, like you mentioned, who has another gear, has another level that he can tap into. He is somebody who can play at the next level, I feel like. And in order for Tennessee to potentially win double-digit games and be a playoff team, then I think John Campbell has to be a piece to the puzzle. In terms of guys who I'm looking at who have more in the tank and have another gear that they can reach, John Campbell's the first one that comes to mind. I think Dante Thornton is also in that category. Now, I don't know that he's the all-around receiver that maybe we once thought that he was. I think maybe he's more of a role guy within the receiver room. I think he's very athletic. I think there are things that he can do that can certainly help Tennessee, but he reminds me of Javonte Payton in a sense, one-trick pony type, home run hitter. Like, I don't think he's going to go out there and catch 5-6 balls a game. I think he's probably going to have 2 to 3 catches a game, and you hope one of those 2 or 3 is one that he takes to the house, that Javonte Payton special in year 1 under Josh Heupel. But I'm sure that he would like to prove me wrong for saying that. But he is somebody that I view, like, it would not surprise me either way with Dante Thornton. I would not be surprised if he has the same year that he had last year. I would not be surprised if he did more than he did last year. Interested to hear your thoughts on him, but those were the first 2 guys that came to mind. Lance Hurd is a guy that I feel like has a lot of pressure on him. I don't know that I would classify him as having that extra gear as an experienced player, an extra level as an experienced player, because he hasn't even established himself yet. He needs to establish himself first before he can reach the point of saying, okay, we think he has more in the tank. But I do think there's a lot of pressure on him by the nature of the position that he's playing, where he's transferring from, how he was ranked as a recruit. I'm sure he was taken care of off the field as well. Like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Lance Hurd and who he's protecting, him and John Campbell. So those were the first guys that came to my mind in terms of guys that are going to be pivotal to Tennessee's success. I don't think Dante Thornton is as pivotal as Campbell and Hurd by the nature of the position. And there's other dudes at receiver that can step up and make plays where I don't know who the other dudes are at tackle if Lance Hurd and John Campbell Jr. aren't cutting it. I think Keenan Peely has to have a big year. I think there's a lot of pressure on him because behind him is a lot of inexperience, a lot of talent. And I like William Inge as a developer, and I think he'll develop those guys, but a lot of inexperience and youngsters that are talented behind him. I think Keenan Peely has to have a big year because he is a veteran presence in that inside linebacker room. Those are the first couple of names that popped into my head as you were asking that question.
Yeah, and again, for those who's just joining us, or those that may forget, every single person who plays under pressure, but there are some that are under more maybe than others for different reasons. And I like your John Campbell pick. I think anytime you have a player that's getting compensated what he's being compensated, there's pressure. And then you look at the quarterback position and who's back there, and your responsibility to protect him and keep him, clean. There's another added pressure there, and then there's pressure on himself if he wants to be the, NFL prospect. There's a reason why he came to Tennessee. Seeing Darnell Wright have the season that he had, being a first-round pick, hearing what he heard about what we do as far as developing offensive linemen, that's why he came here. And so this is the last go-around. There's no more added years. This is it. So there's a couple different reasons why John Campbell is a good one. I think Dante Thornton is a good one too. I had him written down as well, because we bring in Chris Brazzell, you bring in two other young receivers, and you came off a really good performance, the best performance of the year versus Missouri last year, but then you get hurt. And so there's so much motivation for him. And last time I saw him, man, he was in good spirits, and he said he's ready to go. So I'm looking forward to seeing what type of improvements he has made from last year. I think Kenny Pilley is a good one too, Ben, because my man has played a few snaps at Tennessee and was in Dallas representing Tennessee at the SEC Media Days. Whoa, okay. That means we think a lot of you. Well, let's see it on the football field. I think that's a good one too. And I think Kenny Pilley, man, so good for this defense, man. He's a common presence. He's quicker, more athletic than the coaches thought he would be when he first came in, and he should be even quicker and more explosive now with another offseason under the belt.
Yeah, there's two more that have popped into my head, and one initially popped into my head, and I meant to mention when I was first speaking, but I was a little long-winded there, so wanted to pass the torch over to you, pass the baton as we get ready here for the Olympics. But to me, Omar Norman Lott is the defensive version of John Campbell, where he just has a ton of potential. I mean, I could see Omar Norman Lott playing in the league for a lot of years. I really could. I mean, his athleticism and how fast he moves at that size, how quick he gets off the ball, how he accelerates, it's top notch. It's an elite skill set, I believe. I mean, I think he has an elite trait in terms of his burst off the football. And for him, it's the same thing with John Campbell. It's all in the head. Can you be consistent mentally and with your work ethic from week to week? And he is somebody that I feel like flashed last year in fall camp, flashed at the beginning of the season. And then as the season wore on, your body started to ache a little bit more. The games are starting to pile up. There was a lot of inconsistency there. And that is another guy, much like John Campbell. I think there's a lot more left in the tank. I feel like there's another level that he can reach. And man, if he could really play to his potential this year, I don't think he would be a first round pick. Maybe he would, because that is a premium position at the next level. I could see him maybe. Did Justin Harrell sneak into the first round back in the day, or was he pretty much a projected first round pick?
He snuck into the first round.
I could see Omar doing something along those lines with a big-time year. At that position, a premium position in terms of an inside rush presence, I could see him having a big year, and just because of the traits and the position, sneak it in to the end of the first round. I'm not going to predict that. I just don't think it would be the most surprising thing ever. But I think with a great year, he could be a third, fourth-round pick. I think that is very obtainable for Omar Norman Lott. And if Tennessee gets that version of him, then – boy, this defensive line really is going to be scary. I mean, we're already talking about the defensive line possibly being the best in the country. Cole Kublik's ranking it as the best in the league. And that's with the thought that Omar Norman-Lott is just one of the guys. What if he turns into one of the dudes, or turns into the dude next to James Pierce Jr.? I mean, that would be quite the development for Tennessee. So Omar Norman-Lott to me is the John Campbell version on defense. Another guy that I think is facing a lot of pressure is Joshua Josephs, just because it feels like it's kind of now or never for him as a junior. Like it's go time. It's go time. You were a highly ranked guy. You've always had a lot of potential. Your career has been up and down, in my opinion, from a consistency standpoint, which has plagued him from getting on the field. And obviously, he is in a tough position playing behind James Pierce Jr. But there's a lot of ways that you can benefit from playing behind James Pierce Jr. as well. When James Pierce Jr. is wearing on the offensive tackle all game long, and like you're going to get your opportunities in games, come in there and take advantage of James Pierce Jr. wearing on those tackles, and you are athletic enough to where you could have a big year and maybe face an NFL decision at the end of the year as well, just because of your natural skill set. So he is somebody who hasn't necessarily lived up to the hype yet that he arrived at Tennessee with from a production standpoint. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him just because he's now reached the point in his career where he's an older guy. This is his third year in the program. It's time to do something.
Yep. 865-255-03. Tell us where you're calling from, who you are, and we have someone on the line right now. Good morning.
Jason, good morning, brothers. Jay.
What's up, Jay?
Hey, man. Jason, my dad was a veteran. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. I got a soft spot in my heart for veterans. And I saw your great uncle had passed. I saw he was a veteran, and I know he meant a lot to you, and I just wanted to send my condolences to you, buddy, and just hope all that just works out for the best, my man.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you so much. The Air Force was founded in 1947, and man, I got pictures that I dug up and took with me where he's a master sergeant, and pictures where he's with his group from 1955. So, man, my uncle, I can say that he was at the beginning of the inception of the Air Force, and was one of the goats, man. The OGs. So I'm proud of his service. He served in the Army for a couple of years and then went to the Air Force. So I'm proud of his service, and the salute there at the service was amazing. It scared me. Ben, you was there. I wasn't ready.
I got my wife too.
Yeah, I was scared.
My wife, and they warned everybody.
They did warn everybody.
It got my wife and my mom. My wife got a kick out of it, where like she told me that she was like preparing herself for it. She knew it was coming, and it still scared her.
Yeah, it scared me. But they gave me the shell casing from that salute, and I have it right here. It means the world, man. I got his dog tag from the Air Force as well, that I'll never ever take off, and unless I take a shower. That's important. But thank you, man. I'm proud as heck of him and what he was able to instill into me from the Air Force.
Absolutely. It's men and women like him that make our country great. So salute to him. Guys, or Jason, I was listening to the show yesterday with Austin Price. I don't know if I heard this right, but is it the belief that this tight end that's committed to Oregon may flip to us this weekend? Is that, or did I hear that wrong?
No, I don't think you heard that wrong. He was supposed to come to Tennessee at first. And,
right, yeah, I remember that. I remember.
Yep. So, I don't know exactly when he's going to flip, but the thought is he is going to eventually flip to Tennessee. He likes Tennessee a lot. I see Ben over there with something on his mind. Ben, if you know exactly when that's going to happen, feel free to jump in. I just know that Tennessee's in a good spot to land him.
I think Tennessee hears good news on him before they get to Saturday.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, man, they are Tennessee's peeing gasoline on the recruiting trail.
That sounds unhealthy. But yeah, man. We cooking with grease, man. We cooking with grease.
Yeah, man.
What's pretty crazy, Jay, is like it's been a nice run here in the month of July. Back to back Saturdays, picking up commitments, and there's another Tennessee target who is announcing for a third straight Saturday. In addition to Brames, the tight end who is committed to Oregon. Who I mean, it's not really a secret at this point. If anybody's on social media, they've seen all the predictions and forecasts and crystal balls from all the different recruiting services, and I mean, it's no secret that Tennessee is trending heavily for Brames, the tight end that's committed to Oregon, but then also Shady Hayward, he is announcing on Saturday, and Tennessee is positioned well there, and there's some big August commitments coming up as well with Faison Brandon, the 2026 quarterback. I believe that one's the first or the second, if I'm not mistaken. David Sanders Jr. coming up. Tennessee positioned well for both of those guys. I don't know that it's a done deal for either, especially David Sanders. But Tennessee positioned well to land two elite prospects. David Sanders would be the best one of the 2025 class up until this point, obviously. And then I know it's 2026, so hard to get as excited. But Faison Brandon is rated just as highly in his class and would be just as big of a commitment as, Tennessee has landed to this point under Josh Heupel. I mean, probably second or third to Nico and George McIntyre.
Well, isn't Faison Brandon the number one player in his class right now?
Yes. So
wow.
I guess technically, if you're just going off of the rankings, which is you don't need to take them as gospel, but we at 24/7 do have him as the number one overall player in the country, the number one quarterback, and then obviously the number one player in the state of North Carolina from Hendon Hooker's neck of the woods there in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Well, I tell you what, man.
So technically, he would be a higher ranked recruit than Nico.
Yeah.
Technically, based off the recruiting rankings, that's a bigger pickup than Nico. And funny enough, that one seems to be coming down to Tennessee and Alabama, much like Nico came down to Tennessee and Alabama.
I'm uncomfortable saying that a recruit's higher rated than Nico.
I know. Obviously, I hope folks can sense the not sarcasm, but the playful tone in my voice.
Well, I remember Austin Price talking about, I mean, the ratings are crazy with Faison. I remember Austin Price saying that Nick Saban believed that Nico was the best player in that class. And, that was obviously a big coup for us, but it's just that linebacker from Georgia that they think Tennessee is going to flip. Is that still believed that's going to happen, that he's committed to Georgia right now?
The main belief right now with Jaden Pilati is that he is not going to end up in Georgia's class. That can be said with a lot of confidence. Tennessee's still well positioned to land him, but I do believe that Florida State has snuck in there and has given him some things to discuss. So he is not going to end up in Georgia's class. That you can say for certain. It's just a matter of, does he end up at Tennessee, or is Florida State able to swoop in kind of at the last minute and prolong his recruitment?
Well, I tell you what, guys, you got to feel good about our program and where it's headed. And, I mean, Lord knows we have spent many a years on here with buffoons as our coach, just wondering what the heck's going on. And with you seeing what Heupel is doing at the quarterback position, recruiting this position, I don't know if there's a more important position in any sport or has more of an impact. Tony Vitello recruits his tail off, but I don't know if a 5-star shortstop or maybe a pitcher perhaps, but it's the quarterback position affects everything, and the way he is recruiting it, I mean, I don't know how you could do much better than Nico, George McIntyre. You almost forget about Merklinger, who's a heck of a player.
Yep.
And now Faison Brandon. It's just wild, guys. And I think it's what has always been said. Jason has always said it. Just hire a competent coach. You know, I was listening to David Cutcliffe talk about Jason, and I just thought, man, how much of our problems would we have not had to went through with Butch and Dooley and all those coaches if they just went and just hired David Cutcliffe? I don't know if he would have won a title, but the guy is a hell of a coach. He could have steadied our ship, and that's all you have to do at Tennessee. Just hire a decent coach, and you'll be okay.
That's right. That's right, Jay. Hey,
Yeah.
man, good stuff
Thanks,
today.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
865.
Did Coach Cutcliffe have you emotional yesterday? I have it queued up. I haven't listened to it yet. It's queued up in my podcast stream to listen to at some point today. Did he get you? Did he get the water flowing?
Yeah. Ward surprised me yesterday because he's not going to be on the show today and tomorrow. So I guess yesterday was the way of him telling me happy birthday. And so brought out birthday cake to start the show. That was a big surprise. And then had on Wade, who I didn't know was coming on. I talked to him. He didn't tell me he was coming on. And then Coach Cut, that was a big surprise.
Press the DB.
I know, man. And then Coach Cut came on, and Joey Kent came on. But yeah, Coach Cut had me. Obviously, I've been emotional the last couple of days. So it don't take much. There's any small trigger,
right?
And I had to take a little moment during the break, get myself together, and go back and do the show. But yeah, man. I mean, that was great. The Coach Cut, said the things that he said. It means a lot. That's really why you play this game, is to have the respect of your teammates and your coaches. And so I feel like I was able to do that my last year. We got to go back to the phones. We got two on the line holding patiently. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is Mike from Conyers.
What's up, Mike and Conyers?
Hey, I wanted to talk about a couple of the prospect, the recruits that we're targeting, and those would be Josh Petty and Juan Gaston, both offensive linemen. And I know there's a lot of talk around David Sanders, and rightfully so, obviously. But, I mean, Josh Petty, I look at his profile, and he's got like a 98 rating, borderline 5-star. I was wondering what you guys know about both of those guys, Juan Gaston and Josh Petty, in terms of Tennessee's chances to land them. And I'll just hang up and listen. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
You boys over there 247. You boys over 247. Y'all have him as a 5-star already. Josh Petty.
Which one?
Josh
Petty.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. And there for me, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of buzz with Tennessee and Josh Petty, which unfortunate for Tennessee, I think, because Petty grew up a Tennessee fan, and his dad is a Tennessee fan as well. And right now there's a lot of Georgia Tech buzz. Tom Loy, one of our national recruiting analysts, he had information earlier this week about Georgia Tech having a really good chance to land the 5-star, who is ranked as the number 14 overall player in the country, number 2 offensive tackle. He's apparently going to visit there coming up in the near future, and he has an August commitment date, and Georgia Tech and Florida State are the ones that are tied to him, and he's crystal balled to Florida State right now. Looks like it would be a surprise if Petty did not end up at Florida State. Florida State's been the favorite for a long time now, for most of the summer, and it seems like Georgia Tech is possibly trying to swoop in there at the last second. So as of today, I would be very surprised if Josh Petty ended up at Tennessee. He did make a couple visits to Tennessee, and there was a lot of dialogue early on this calendar year or this cycle. It just didn't seem to materialize much more past spring or early summer. So I'd be surprised if Petty ended up at Tennessee. And then with Juan Gaston, he's the more likely possibility, but even that one seems like it's going to be a difficult one to pull Juan there in the Atlanta area. A lot of Georgia buzz. Now, the one thing that you don't know about the Georgia buzz with Juan Gaston is that The kid does not talk. Does not talk. I obviously do not cover recruiting full time. That is not my main responsibility, but I do help out with help Ryan Callahan when I don't have a baseball game or basketball game to be at in the spring. And I was over there, I think, like one of the early cookout weekends or whatever in May or whenever it was. And Juan Gaston was in town and stopped to talk, tried to get him to talk when he was leaving. And he did stop, but, I mean, it was like pulling teeth to get him to say to say more than 3-4 words in a sentence. And his family was kind of cracking up at him in the background because they know how much Juan hates talking. So there does seem to be a lot of Georgia buzz there, but also, like, you wonder how much of that buzz is legitimate because you know that he doesn't talk. That's my point. So those two offensive linemen have been Tennessee targets, Swain, for quite some time, but I don't know that I would call Tennessee the favorite for either at the moment.
Let's go back to the phones. 865-255-03. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Turkey Man?
Hey, hope you have a really good birthday, and been praying for you, and glad to see you back. And Ben, I'm glad to see you back, and it just looks like it's kind of everything lines up when I see both of you working together at the same time, and I watch you on YouTube. But anyhow, I hope you guys have a great weekend. And Michaela's birthday, by the way, is today. So
Happy
seems like
birthday.
everybody comes in this month, and a lot of people I know. I'm going to ask the football question. Maybe something that you don't know. I don't know. The special teams is a third of the game, and one important element is somebody that receives the kickoff, and especially punts. But that can flip a game on its end if we bobble a kick or a punt or at the wrong time. So who do you think's going to be doing that job this year? And I'll get back and listen to you. And have a good, guys. We love you.
All right, thank you, Turkey Man. I want to see Boo Carter back there, but I understand his youth, and if there's someone else that steps up and is able to, be really consistent and you can depend on them, then I just love Boo Carter with the ball in his hands in space. But I remember Cam Seldon returning kickoffs last year for Tennessee, and I always like guys that are used to carrying the ball, guys that can take a hit, and not worry about ball security that much. So running backs and offensive players are always good. I wonder if Squirrel White's going to return punts too.
I was about to ask you that. How would you feel about having him back there?
Hey, man, the first and most important thing is catching it. So if he does that well, I don't have a problem with him after the catch because I think he's the guy that can take it the distance. He's quick, he's shifty, and obviously he's fast.
What about from a adding hits to his body standpoint, risking further injury?
He'll be all right.
What about
okay? We got depth at wide receiver, and I think he can handle it pretty well too.
Yeah, I do agree. Now I'm curious as to your thoughts of Dylan Sampson doing it in that regard.
No.
Which I hate because I would love to see Dylan Sampson returning kicks or punts, one of them.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson's freshman year would have been the best year to do that. Not this year. I don't want to see Dylan Sampson back there. Nope. No, thank you. No, sir. Sorry, Dylan. Don't even ask.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. I have two quick things to ask you, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do that after the break. So let's take a quick time out, and then let's come back and let's get to that. 865-255-03. The Beatty Chevrolet text box is open for you as well. Ben McKee, Go Balls 247. I'm Jason Swain. Stay with us.
Here in Knoxville, we love it when a squirrel's in the checkerboards. But when there's a squirrel in our attic, that's all sides. When that happens, call Alpha Wildlife. They're Knoxville's veteran-owned and operated wildlife removal company. When unwanted critters put their feet up on your coffee table, call 865-224-6555. Let the Tennessee fans at Alpha Wildlife evict those unwanted tenants and set your home up with a winning defense to keep that wildlife where it belongs. That's Alpha Wildlife at 865-224-6555. They have locations in Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and in parts of South Carolina. Check them out online at alphawildlife.com.
Fellas, there's a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust. I recommend Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked. At Low T Center, they make it quick and easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have noticed weight gain, loss of muscle mass, you may have low T levels. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
80 saves you money, like a new 24 Chevy Silverado 1500 Crew Cab. Save with 5.9% APR financing or pre-owned vehicles starting at $19,995. All makes and models at Beatty Chevrolet.
What's up, Swain Event crew? Always happy to be with my friends in the morning. So, everybody has a next chapter in life, right? And sometimes that includes a move. Your next page may have a growing family, or maybe an empty nest, or possibly a move back home. When the time comes, I'll be here to help. Just give me a call. Jennifer Morris, Keller Williams Realty, 865-694-5904, and check out my website, nextmovesmokymountains.com. As always, go Vols!
Looking for a different way to enjoy the show?
Yes!
Then check out Swain Event TV on YouTube.
Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain, live here in the Low T Center studio. You can give us a call at 865-250-5503. Also, you can hit us up on the Beatty Chevrolet text box. Ben had a couple questions before the break, so Ben, man, it's all on you.
Actually, I have 4 things I want to bring up, and I will make them very quick.
Come on, Turkey, man. I can't keep up with all that.
Well, they're quick things. So even by my standards, they will be quick. I promise. First, and it ties into one of the others. I want to wish you an early happy birthday before I forget.
All right, Saturday.
I know you don't like talking about your birthday or being wished a happy birthday, but your birthday is on Saturday. So everybody remember to wake up on Saturday and tweet at Swaino and wish him a happy birthday, but wanted to give you an early happy birthday before we get out of here and before I forget. And Jennifer Morris, who, if you are in the real estate market in the Knoxville area, I encourage you to reach out to Jennifer Morris as always. She will take great care of you and your family. My family has trusted her twice. I know several other members of the Swain Event family that have trusted Jennifer with their family and moving around and purchasing different things and accomplishing what they want to accomplish in real estate. So please reach out to Jennifer Morris for all of your real estate needs. But Jennifer, you know, she likes to shoot me a text and say, hey, here's my shout out for the day. Her shout out today is a poem for you, Swain.
Okay, let's hear it.
It reads, a voice of reason during football season, a man of much grace with a cool dog named Ace, a dad, a husband, and a friend to us all, the best in the biz, and one hell of a vol. Happy birthday, Swain.
Oh, man, thank you, Jennifer Morris. That's good, man. That's good. I appreciate
that. Was that was good stuff right there from Jennifer. The 2 things that I was actually referring to heading into the break. I wanted to ask you with Cutcliffe, and I'm not asking you to, you know, mention names when I ask this, but it's more so because I know a lot of people view Cutcliffe in such high regard, and rightfully so. You had several coordinators, you had several assistant coaches, you obviously communicated and interacted with position coaches who weren't your position coaches as well. Where does Cutcliffe rank in terms of the coaches that you dealt with while you were in college?
Number one.
He's just that great.
Yes.
Yeah. That again, I'm not at all asking you that to put anybody down. I'm more so asking it in regard to just speaking to Cutcliffe's greatness, because I think it's really cool just how much everybody just respects him at an incredible level.
Yeah, number one. Yeah, number one. And sorry for the noise there. That was my not to sound awkward here, but that was my great uncle's phone. So I got his phone, so I forgot to turn it on silent. So
I did not hear it, so I don't know if it
Okay.
came across the broadcast, but I did not hear it. Maybe I was yapping too much. My final thing, I'm curious as to your thought on my bold prediction for football season. I was what I call jibber jabbering with the checkerboard community on GoVols247.com last night, and I was asked while I was jibber jabbering with the good folks what my bold prediction was for this football season. My bold prediction is that Tennessee beats Florida and Alabama in back-to-back weeks. Your thoughts?
I mean, beating Alabama will be a bold prediction in itself, because you look at that roster and it's still more talented than Tennessee's, and Kalen DeBoer, even though he's in his first year, is a dang good coach. So just saying Alabama alone would be a pretty bold prediction. But I think it would be a bold prediction. Even taking Florida out of the equation there.
Sweeping both after how the last 20 years have gone against those two teams in particular, I mean, I think that would be one heck of an accomplishment, even if Florida isn't what Florida typically is. And that is somewhat rooted in my bold prediction that I was asked to give one, is that Florida, like, at best, they're going to be average. Like, a good year for them this year against that schedule is going to be an average football team.
And Tennessee should beat them, and they playing them at home. So
right. And Tennessee is better than Florida, and you should not lose to them inside of Neyland Stadium. It's as simple as that. I mean, you're the better team. You're at home. You know the fans are going to be rowdy. You cannot lose that football game, and you should not lose that football game. Obviously, the bigger part of the equation to that bold prediction is, does Tennessee beat Alabama? And on paper, July 25th, I say yes, because it's a home game. It's not Nick Saban. I like Kalen DeBoer. I think he's really good. I last weekend I was at home and obviously went home to spend time with you and your family, but also was able to grab dinner with some friends who are Bama fans. And this one particular Bama fan, back when Kalen DeBoer was hired, I think I mentioned it on the show, referred to him as Brian Harsin 2.0, and didn't think he was going to be able to recruit. And I don't know if you've noticed, but unfortunately for Tennessee, Alabama and Kalen DeBoer has been killing it on the recruiting trail.
Your friend's an idiot. He's an idiot.
We say that lovingly, obviously, but I don't think he's listening to this because he is a Bama fan. But I was messing with him this past weekend at the dinner table. I said, man, Brian Harsin sure did learn to recruit between his time in Auburn and getting to Alabama. But at the end of the day, it's still like I think Alabama will have a good season. It's just not going to be a good season by Alabama football standards that was established under Nick Saban. And like Kalen DeBoer coming to a new place and playing in a new league, like I don't think he's just going to walk in here and just breeze through the season. Like I think he's going to take a lump or two, and I think one of those lumps is going to be to Tennessee because it's in Neyland Stadium. It's going to be a phenomenal environment, and from an X's and O's standpoint, I think Tennessee's defensive line has the advantage on paper, July 25th, against Alabama's offensive line. And if that proves to be true, I think life is going to be really tough for Jalen Milroe inside of Neyland Stadium while Nico does his thing on the other side of the ball. So that was kind of my thought process there by linking those two predictions. And I mean, I feel like that's a fun storyline for Tennessee because of just the history of the last 20 years or so against those two teams. Like, yeah, Florida's not Florida, but you get arguably your two biggest rivals in back-to-back weeks and at home and a chance to beat both of them. That would be a pretty neat storyline for Tennessee.
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you that confident about that game. I'm not.
I wouldn't say I'm confident.
No, I mean you. I see what you're saying. I'm just not where you are right now. That's okay. We do have someone on the line. 865-255-03. Good morning.
Good morning, fellas. It's Rusty out in Redondo Beach.
What's up, Rusty?
Same old. From Gina and I just wanted to send love and condolences.
Thank you.
From a guy whose granddad was in the Army Air Corps and his dad was in the Air Force. He was born on an Air Force base, and then he did his brief stint in the Air Force. And then just knowing how great a dude you are, with an uncle who stuck it out to make it to the level of Master Sergeant, that he must have just been one absolute heck of a guy, and I know he's missed, and I hope you find peace and warmth with all the good memories you have. I'm huge condolences, man.
Thank you, man. That means a lot.
Having said all that, happy birthday too.
Oh, thanks.
And Ben, hope you're enjoying the game. I know you're wearing it out when you have a half a second in between all the other chaos that is going on in your life with the two little ones and all that.
You probably tried.
But I hope you're getting a minute here and there to play.
I am.
So
I'm making time for it.
I know. I don't know when you're sleeping, and I'm sure you're basically just not these days.
Pretty much.
So on our little thing we do over on Twitter, me and some buddies, we were talking last night about is the secondary and the linebacking core, the back seven. So our two linebackers, because I consider Pierce and Josephs and those guys not to be in the linebacking core. I consider, Peely and Carter, and I guess then T-Lander being their backup. I consider that those two positions, your linebackers, and then your five secondary guys. I'm not asking if the production will be better than 2023's back seven or if better than 2022's. But my argument would be the talent is obviously going to be better, just physical gifts of the back seven this year versus the previous two, mostly because it seems like the coaches told the players that were here previously that they were free to move about the cabin and enjoy themselves in the transfer portal. We're going to bring some other guys in, or we're going to go younger with guys like Gibson and Matthews. Am I reading that room right, or am I way off?
List it back to me one more time. The secondary.
The back seven. Are they more talented? Do the coaches and everybody on campus, the media around town, does everybody feel like the back seven is more physically gifted than they have been the previous few years?
Yeah,
I'll say
the guys
yeah. I think so.
Gibson, Matthews,
yes.
McCoy, hopefully Boo gets some time. Whoever it is at safety.
I think there's a lot more athleticism.
And then Peely and
Absolutely.
Carter versus, let's say, Herring and Beasley that played most of the time last year.
Yeah, I think linebacker's the more interesting question to Rusty's question, Swaino, because Keenan Peely reminds me more of Aaron Beasley, and I don't think that those guys are not athletic, but they're not the most athletic linebackers ever either. With the secondary, I absolutely believe that it is more athletic than it has been in years with some of the different body types that it brought in. I mean, Tamarion McDonald, Jalen McCullough, like those guys are Wesley Walker. Those guys are good football players, but I mean I wouldn't consider them the most athletic players of all time. Whereas like you are receiving a lot of athleticism in Ricky Gibson and a Jacoby Thomas and Jordan Thomas, Andre Turrentine, Jamal McCoy, Jordan Matthews. Absolutely. I think all those guys are more athletic. Now that doesn't mean the production will be better.
Right.
You
That's what
obviously need it to be, and you hope it will be. And it's up. I kind of made this point, and Swain, you can tell me if I was being too blunt, but I made this point on our podcast earlier this week when we did a camp preview with the defense. For me, it's like you overhauled the secondary, rightfully so, but at some point, if you're Willie Martinez and Tim Banks, your development's got to show up. Like, stop talking about this, stop talking about that. At some point, it's just got to boil down to just develop the guy and get them to a level to where they can be productive. To me, it's at that point. It's year 4. You've had plenty of time to reshape and get your players in here. You're a safety guru with Tim Banks. Willie Martinez has been working with corners and secondary for a long, long time. Just like it's just time to develop them. I mean, to me, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's time. You want the production to show. I mean, I think you can make a case that there has been development there, but the reason why you made the move is because it's not good enough, and it's not good enough because you have players who are not as athletic as they need to be, even with your development. Like, I can teach a 6'5" post player all the moves that Akeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan know, but you still 6'5" as a post player. You take those same moves and you put them on a 7-footer, the production is different. It's better. That's why I think this team made the moves in the secondary is you need more athletic players. So that way the development, the teaching will go further than it has with the other group. So, yeah, like this secondary is more athletic. I think that's an easy yes right there, Rusty.
Cool. Let me ask you this one. If Elijah Herring hadn't entered the transfer portal and he was still on campus, and you had T-Lander, Carter, and Peely, as we do, and then I guess there's a few other guys that I'm not thinking about in the linebacking depth chart. Where would Elijah Herring been on this team's depth chart? And I ask that because guys like who does the big magazine? Why am I blanking?
Football Time in Tennessee.
No, the big national magazine where he's like the Bible of college
Phil
football.
Steele.
What's his name?
Yeah,
Phil Steele.
Yeah.
Phil Steele, like, is talked about, and a lot of other people. The loss of Elijah Herring being our leading tackler from last year, which that's never to me been a thing that really matters who leads team tackles, because sometimes you're just making tackles because you just happen to be the last guy in front of the guy. But they've all talked about it being such a huge loss for us. Where would he have been on our depth chart in the linebacking core this year
Probably
with who we
third.
currently still have?
Probably
Third?
Probably third or second.
Ahead of T-Lander for third?
Nah, I mean, T-Lander wasn't going to just be a third. I'm sorry, man. T-Lander was not going to be third this upcoming year.
T-Lander second?
I think T-Lander would have been second with Herring here, and I think Herring was really fighting to get on the football field. Yeah, with Keenan Peely back, Arion Carter, who's more athletic. I mean, you got to think about Herring played because of injuries.
Right, so I'm saying I think Herring would have been fourth behind Carter, T-Lander, and Peely.
Well, I was thinking about there's two linebacker spots.
Yeah, I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I meant this list the linebackers not by position, just linebackers in order. Where would he have been on the pecking order?
Yeah,
man.
I need to see. Do I think Arion Carter and Jeremiah T-Lander are going to be better than Elijah Herring? Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. But right now, entering their true sophomore season, especially Arion Carter after he dealt with injuries at the end of last year, is coming off a somewhat significant shoulder injury, and you could tell he was a bit of a fish out of water last season. playing running back, committed to Memphis in high school, and now he's a linebacker playing in the SEC. You could tell that he was still going through that transition. Like, I still expect – my point is I still expect that for there to be growing pains with Carter and T-Lander this season. And because of that, I hate to give somewhat of a cop-out answer, but my thought would be that Elijah Herring would be competing for like that second, third linebacker spot this fall with those young guys. And if those young guys are further ahead than maybe I think that they are entering camp, I think they're going to be great players, but they're not those great players yet. They're still growing. They're still learning, especially Arion Carter after transitioning positions. T-Lander has a leg up on Carter because he played linebacker all his life, and it's the son of a football coach. So because of that, I think Elijah Herring was probably 2 or 3 just because there's so much inexperience behind Keenan Peely.
Right. No, I'm with you. Is it unfair? And I know it's unfair, but is it unfair for us to all pretty much just agree the difference between this team being a good football team and being a team that is in the playoffs, either hosting a home game or going on the road in the first round of the playoff, is the difference really whether or not number 8 plays at an elite level similar to 2022 Hendon Hooker or 2020 Dylan Gabriel under Josh Heupel, or if he's just very good? Is it really going to be on number 8? If he's elite with unworldly 30-3 touchdown to interception ratio, like guys have been, or if he's just very good, 20 to 8 touchdown to interception ratio, something like that. Is that really where it's all going to fall?
Well, hopefully, Rusty. Thanks for the phone call, man. Thanks, for the love. Hopefully, you don't need Nico to shoulder the responsibility like Hendon. That Florida game, it was a great game. Hendon was great. But I can tell the coaches just did not want to put him in that same spot again. Like, Hendon was beat up, man. He could barely walk off the field. And we were lucky that he was able to last that game. You don't want Nico in that position. It would be great if Nico has an electric season and it's lights out. That just helps Tennessee be a better football team. But you don't want to rely on Nico to be all world just so you have a chance. Like, that's not. Like, there's games that he may be all world because great players show up in big moments and perform. But you don't want to put him in a position where it's like, oh man, for Tennessee to even have a chance, he has to have 300 yards. Like, you don't want that, man. You don't want that at all. So that's why other guys have to step up. The defense, special teams, play complementary football. Offensive line got to be good. Receivers got to make plays after the catch. Yards after contact at running back. All that stuff is really, really important. About 6 minutes left in the program. Chip Payne, do you think these Georgia commits who are possibly flipping to Tennessee, do you think they were told to look elsewhere? Probably.
Pilati, who is still currently committed, he was told to look elsewhere. Yeah, and I wouldn't now. I would not say that like Georgia thinks he's a bad player or something all of a sudden. He just fell down their board. And there were other guys ranked above him that they were able to get, and that kind of bumped him out. So just because Georgia maybe moved on from that particular player means that Tennessee's getting a bust or a bad player or something like that. Like, he's still a really good player and would be a really big pickup for Tennessee if he proves to flip. Now, I think Chip Payne was also referring to some of the recent commitments, Christian Gass, Travis Smith Jr., the receiver and the linebacker that have committed the last 2 Saturdays. They were absolutely takes at Georgia. Travis Smith Jr. was a take at Georgia. Christian Gass was a take at Georgia as well. Were they number 1, number 2, number 3 on the board? Probably not, but Georgia did want them. They did. So it's not, a lot of times you see a kid commit to this school or that school. Like, I know Tennessee fans will see such and such committed to Minnesota over Tennessee. and Tennessee fans know that Tennessee was not recruiting that kid. It was not really a take. It was not that type of situation with either of them. Those are really important, really big pickups for the Vols.
865-255-03. Until the end of the month, Hiller is celebrating some awesome specials for their birthday bash. This year marks 34 years in business. Free smart thermostats with select new HVAC systems. Also free water tests, free leak detection, and shut-off valves with tankless water heaters. When you buy 10 landscaping lights, Hiller's going to give you 2 for free. It's a celebration. Hiller's birthday bash. Go to the website. That is happyhiller.com for more details. Again, happyhiller.com. Ben, got a question for you on the text box from Caleb. When Rick Barnes decides it's time to retire, do you think Tennessee should promote from within with someone like Rod Clark? Go to Barnes' coaching tree and hire a former assistant like Kim English, or look elsewhere? What would you prefer?
With Rod Clark, I would like to see him have some head coaching experience before I pursued him as a head coach or as a guy who would take over for Rick Barnes after, let's say Rick does it after this season. After 10 really strong seasons at Tennessee, I would like to see them hire somebody who has head coaching experience at the quote-unquote Power 5 level, Group of 6 level in college basketball. Now, although I believe that if there was a coach on this staff that I would promote to be head coach, if Rick retired, it would be Rod Clark. And I realize that he's the young guy, and I think Greg Polinsky and Justin Gainey are really good assistant coaches. But Rod Clark, I don't think enough people give Rod Clark his flowers for his recruiting, because he was working at the AAU level when he got done playing, and before he got to Austin Peay and stopped before Austin Peay and eventually to Tennessee. He was kind of doing one-on-one workouts with a lot of players. He was working at the AAU level. He was working with Nike EYBL, like top-tier AAU programs. And because of that, he's from Kansas City. I mean, he has connections all over the country. And he gets Tennessee in the door for a lot of elite recruits. There are, I mean, they're board right now, probably 10, 15 guys, and they're all top 50, top 75 overall players. And a lot of Tennessee getting in the door with those players is because of Rod Clark's connections. So I say that to say I don't think he gets enough credit for just how great of a recruiter he already is, I believe, at 31 years old. And I also don't think people realize just he's not just a recruiter either. He's a really good basketball coach. And I think if anybody was able to sit down and watch a basketball practice, I think that they would be surprised by how involved Rod Clark is. He's not just a recruiter and standing off to the side and whatnot. He has great relationships with the players. I think he goes a long ways towards being the good cop after a player has to go through a practice with Rick Barnes, and Rod is able to kind of come in and not literally smooth things over, but, you know, just give them perspective. And not that he's just easy on them, but I think that the players really, really respect him, on top of his trait that he is a good coach that I don't think people give him enough credit for, because they view him as a recruiter. And then I even think he's underrated as a recruiter standpoint, just because he's the young guy on staff. So I'd like to see him get some experience, but he is a future head coach. And I feel like he's the next Kim English, quite frankly, in terms of up-and-coming star in the coaching business. And there have been several schools that have reached out to Rod while he has been at Tennessee, prominent schools like Michigan, like Duke, and others that he could have left if the timing was right. So Rod Clark is a gem for Tennessee, and he would be the one that I would promote, quite frankly, even if he is the most inexperienced guy. With Kim English, Swain, I think that would be a great hire for Tennessee, an elite recruiter. You know that he's going to get a lot of talent to campus. You know that he's really going to have great respect from the locker room and the players that he brings in. And like my question with him, kind of like the Rod Clark thing, is like everybody views him as a recruiter. How is he going to be X's and O's wise? He keeps winning. He keeps winning. He won at George Mason. He had a really good first season at Providence. And if not for an injury or two, he probably does more this year at Providence than he ended up doing. And I'm sure he's still got big things in his future. So I think Kim English would be a good hire as well. But ultimately, I just think you got to make sure that you hire a proven, sitting head coach. Tennessee basketball, its profile has elevated because of Rick Barnes, and your hiring criteria and what you look for when you go out and find Rick Barnes' replacement, it should also elevate. And you should be able to go hire. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to go hire somebody like Bill Self or Jay Wright or somebody like that, hire away anybody from a blue blood, but like that tier 2 of coaches, you should be able to get your foot in the door with just about any of them, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that day is coming, unfortunately. But, when it comes, I think Tennessee will be ready. I think Rick Barnes has made the job better since he's been here. So I'm on board with you there, 100%. Edwin Spillman, do you think he will redshirt this year or be a contributor? Well, that depends on fall camp. I mean, there's opportunities for young backers to get in there and make some plays. I think it depends on the injury, production, but there's nothing wrong with redshirting. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I am interested to see how his freshman season goes, because there are guys in front of him. But as I talked about a moment ago with his young linebackers, what do their development look like? What does Edwin's development look like? Because all I know, Swain, is Edwin showed up late for spring practice because of graduating high school early and the way it was situated at Lipscomb Academy there in the mid-state. All I know is he showed up late for spring practice, and he got here, and like Miley Cyrus once said, he came in like a wrecking ball, and he was flying around the field. The pads were popping when Edwin Spillman was on the field. So I'll be curious to see how his freshman season plays out, because he was further along than I expected in the spring, and he stood out to me in the spring.
What are you doing, Ben? What are you doing with your life?
I ask myself that a lot, particularly every Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 9:30.
Oh, man. We'll know in fall camp. I think we'll have.
I've been around K. Simon too much the last several months. That's something K. Simon would have said.
Oh, 100%. That's 100% something he would say. 100%, man. All right.
Are you gonna ask me Princeton's question?
No, I'll let you read it and answer it.
What are the chances of Tennessee landing Caleb Holt from Buckhorn? Unfortunately, Caleb Holt is no longer from Buckhorn. He literally yesterday announced that he was moving to Grayson, which I believe is the Grayson in the Atlanta area. I'm unfamiliar with a different Grayson.
No, it's north. It's North Atlanta. Yeah.
Right, but I didn't know if there was like another Grayson like basketball program elsewhere. Yeah. I just assumed that it was the Grayson that Tennessee has recruited for years now.
He'll be going to Georgia probably.
He is. It is. I did see later on that there's some comments about being a Georgia boy now, but unfortunately he is no longer a Buckhorn product. He is moving to the state of Georgia. Tennessee is recruiting him. I haven't heard, and he's still a 2026. So he's a year away. So there just hasn't been a lot of buzz there, just because he is a year away from really getting into his recruitment. He's going into his junior year, but Tennessee has offered. Tennessee has been in contact with him, and that kid is he is a dude. He is every bit of a 5-star. I mean, he was one of the best players in the state of Alabama as a true freshman at Buckhorn, and when I was at Buckhorn in high school, we were awful at basketball. And the fact that they won a state championship in basketball blows my mind. Buckhorn is surrounded by cotton fields. Buckhorn has a deer statue outside of it. You do not think basketball when you think of Buckhorn. And this kid was so special that he led Buckhorn to a state championship and beat some pretty big schools in the Birmingham area, which is a sneaky good basketball region. The Birmingham area has some big-time basketball schools.
Sneaky.
Took it to him. So that kid is a stud. I would love to see him play for Tennessee. He would be a fun one to cover.
Oh, Buckhorn. No, basketball is football is supposed to be king south of Huntsville, Birmingham, and below. But basketball has it's been really good in North Alabama for a long time, and Hope coming in. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I got several buddies who are head basketball coaches in Huntsville and in Birmingham, so I've heard about every really good player in Alabama, especially if Tennessee is offered them. So
let me add this one last thing about basketball before we get out of here. I know you're trying to wrap up.
Yeah.
I did want to mention, because I was able to watch basketball practice on Tuesday. They opened it to the media. They're in the midst of their summer practice, which is what Tennessee football goes through with spring practice, what baseball goes through in the fall. Summer is basketball's time for spring practice and fall ball.
Mm-hmm.
And we were finally able to watch practice on Tuesday. Swain?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I've been saying it for weeks. So go ahead. I know what you're about to say.
They're the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's one practice in the summer, but they are going to be so fun to watch. Igor Milicic just everywhere on the floor, and he is a bucket. He is an absolute bucket, Igor Milicic, the transfer from Charlotte. Chaz Lanier, when I was there at practice, he was busting it. I mean, that shot looked so pretty, and he just kept making it one after the next. Darlington Dubar, that dude is yoked up. He is a big physical presence, and I didn't really see him shoot the ball. I saw him more do stuff at the rim when I was there, but I had somebody tell me the day before during Monday's practice, if you were there, you would have thought that he was the best player on the team and the best shooter on the team. Apparently, Rick Barnes was getting after Dubar in Rick Barnes fashion, and Dubar nodded his head and proceeded to take over practice for like the next 20 minutes, was just busting folks, and just shot after shot after shot was knocking them down. And I heard he was giving Rick Barnes a look in the process of what you got to say now type of thing, which Rick loves. Like, don't let Rick fool you. He does that for a reason, and he wants to see guys kind of give him that eye after they do something in practice. So they're going to be fun, man. I mean, they are. I tweeted this yesterday. I think that they're going to be the most athletic team that Rick Barnes has had, which feels a little weird to say because you had a team that had Keon Johnson and Eve Pons on the same team. Jaden Springer's pretty athletic as well in a more physical fashion. But them dudes just fly around. Zakai looked like Zakai. Jemai looked like Jemai. They're fun. And the one that I'm most excited about, Felix Akpar. That dude is just a burst of athleticism on both ends of the floor. And opposing teams are going to have nightmares trying to defend Zakai and Felix in the pick and roll game and playing off of one another. Zakai's never had a lob threat like Felix, and he's going to take advantage. And Felix has never had a point guard like Zakai. And I mean, I think they're going to be the most athletic team that Rick has had. And Cam Carr wasn't even out there. He was dealing with a very, very, very minor knee injury. He wasn't even out there, and he's the most athletic guy on the team. And JP's dealing with a bit of a bone bruise, and he wasn't out there either. And JP's very athletic. Kate Phillips was flying around on both ends. They're the real deal. They have a chance to do exactly what they did a season ago, if not more.
Mm-hmm. That's what I want to hear. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. That's Ben McKee. GoVox 247. I'm Jason Swain. Thank you for your time. Tuesday morning, 8 a.m.
Happy birthday.
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Peace and much love. We are out.